Hey everybody, welcome back to RV Miles. Something a little bit different for you today. I'm driving around in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and I wanted to talk to you a bit about tow haul mode on your trucks. Now, I'm not a truck expert by any means. I'm not a towing expert by any means, but I am a guy that likes to learn things. And one thing that I have learned in my years of doing this is a lot of people don't understand what tow haul mode does, when you should use it, why you should use it, when you shouldn't use it, why you shouldn't use it. So today, we're gonna get into that a little bit. It's a bit of rainy fun here this week in the Outer Banks, so it's actually nice to get in the truck to do a video because it's loud in the trailer, it's rainy outside of the trailer, it's windy, but hey, we're gonna do a truck video, we might as well do it in the truck. So tow haul mode, what's it do? Are you hurting your vehicle if you're not using tow haul mode while you are towing or hauling? Let's talk about it. So the first thing to know is that tow haul mode is a little bit different depending on the vehicle that you own. And if your vehicle doesn't have tow haul mode, well, I hope you're towing something fairly light, because tow haul mode is generally a feature on vehicles that are meant to tow. Doesn't really have much to do with your integrated trailer brake. It doesn't have much to do with your anti-sway system, anything like that. What tow haul mode does, for the most part, is it changes your shift points, number one. So an automatic transmission shifts from gear to gear to give you the correct amount of power. As your RPMs go up, your vehicle shifts, might shift around 1800 RPM when you're driving without a trailer attached or without a heavy load. But when you have tow haul mode on, your shift points go up. So your vehicle shifts later. As you're accelerating, your vehicle doesn't shift as soon. What that does is it gives you more torque. So when it shifts, you're not all of a sudden without power. The heavier load you're carrying, the more important that is. So when do I consider myself hauling a load? If I have 300 pounds on a tiny little trailer behind my big F-350, am I using tow haul mode? Well, probably not. If I'm hauling 19,000 pounds, perhaps I would consider that hauling a big load. But remember, it is tow haul mode. It's not just a towing mode, it's a hauling mode as well. So if you have a lot of stuff in the bed of your truck, you're hauling a lot of weight, you might want to consider it. But let's talk about some of the other things that tow haul mode does before we talk about why and when you should use it. So the other big thing, most important thing that tow haul mode does in modern automatic transmission vehicles is that it downshifts for you on a descent. So if you're going downhill on a steep grade, it's going to use engine braking for you. So if I go down a hill in my F-350, so I have an F-350 7.3 liter gasoline engine with a 10-speed transmission. If I'm going downhill and I'm in tow haul mode and I tap on the brake to signify that I want to slow down, don't need to hit the brake very hard at all, it will know that I want to slow down, and it's going to start applying engine braking for me by downshifting, which uses the compression of the engine as you downshift the gears. Compression is literally air compressing in the cylinders of your engine. That slows the vehicle down. So if you don't have tow haul mode and you're not towing, you're not hauling, whatever, you might in the past have downshifted on a grade as you're going downhill. So you actually press that plus minus button that nobody ever uses in their vehicle and downshift it, so that you're not running out of high gear as you go down the hill, which allows you to use the brakes way less. Now, you might not have ever done that before. You might have just hit the brakes. You might not be used to things like mountain passes and all that. But if you ride your brakes down a mountain pass, you're going to heat them up dramatically, and you may lose braking altogether. You may destroy your brakes. You may liquefy the grease in your bearings. It gets so hot. You want to downshift when you go down a steep grade, whether you're towing or not, but that's more important when you're towing or hauling a heavy load, because obviously gravity is pushing down on your vehicle as it goes downhill. So the harder it pushes down on your vehicle, the harder your brakes have to work. So that downshifting is a huge feature, and I can't tell you how great it is on our truck in particular. Absolutely love it. In fact, we'll often use tow haul mode if I'm going down a very steep grade, if I'm going down a mountain pass or something like that, even if I'm not towing or hauling anything. It keeps me from having to manually downshift, and it just does it all for me. Now, there are a few other things that tow haul mode can do. We'll get to that in a moment, but first, this video is sponsored by our friends at RVmattress.com by Brooklyn Bedding. If you want a real mattress for your RV, made by a real mattress company that is comfortable, look no further than RVmattress.com by Brooklyn Bedding. Now, I've gotten a lot of flack from a couple people recently for saying that the mattresses that come with most RVs are junk, and the manufacturer knows they're junk and just intends that you're probably going to throw them away. They think I'm just saying that to sell mattresses, but manufacturers have told me directly these mattresses often cost them less than $10. So they've talked about not putting them in all together. They are there to sell the RV. It's a theater set. It's there to show you what the mattress is going to look like. Now, a few RV manufacturers out there do put decent mattresses in their RVs, but most of them don't. And there's got to be a place to get those odd sizes, because they don't put normal sizes in a lot of them. And RVmattress.com by Brooklyn Bedding is a great place to find a mattress that will fit your RV, that is vacuum sealed in a box that you can fit through the front door and open up. Their mattresses are made in their factory in Arizona. They have a 120-night sleep trial, a 10-year warranty, and you can get 25% off if you go to rvmattress.com/RVmiles and use the code RVmiles. We love these mattresses. We have them in both of our RVs, and we have them in our home, because they're not just RV mattresses, they're mattresses, and they're a perfect companion for your RV. rvmattress.com/RVmiles. Now, there are a few other things that tow haul mode can do depending on the truck you own, how old it is, the brand it is. So for instance, on my F350 with the 10-speed transmission, those 10 gears, when you're in standard driving modes, doesn't use all the 10 gears. When you're in tow haul mode, it will go through every gear to give you sort of the optimal power band for the towing condition. The other thing it will do is try to keep you out of overdrive as much as possible. Now, in older vehicles, you might have had a button that turned overdrive gears off, or your tow haul mode might have locked out overdrive altogether. Overdrive is the gears in which your wheels are spinning faster than the transmission. It's not the case anymore in newer trucks that you have to lock out overdrive. That's why there is no overdrive lockout. Now, some people will go in and lock out those few gears. So on our truck, 9th and 10th gear are overdrive gears. So I can go and hit the minus button on my gear shifter, and I can lock out 9th and 10th gear, which means it only goes up to 8th gear. That might be something that is useful for you if you have a very heavy load in particular. The max load I've hauled in this truck is 15,000 pounds. It can haul a lot more than that, but I'm not getting anything close to that. So if you're hauling a heavy load, you might find it useful to lock out those overdrive gears. You might find your vehicle performs better, but it's not something you really have to do anymore. And really, the secret is, with these newer transmissions, there's so much computer learning happening when you're driving now that the vehicle kind of knows what you've got going on, right? It's not going to shift for you later like tow haul mode does, but the transmission does a pretty good job of protecting itself. And in tow haul mode, in most modern trucks, it's going to keep you from shifting in and out of those overdrive gears too often, which can cause heat. Heat is the biggest enemy of a transmission. So people will say that tow haul mode shifts less. Well, in my case, that's actually not true, because it's unlocked 10 gears for me instead of the 6 or 7 it used before. So it's using more gears. It's actually shifting more. But when you're closer to those overdrive gears, so when you're cruising down the highway at 65 miles an hour, it's going in and out of those overdrive gears less. And that is important for reducing the heat to your transmission. Another thing that is important for reducing the heat in your transmission is it manages your torque converter's lockout more efficiently. It's different on different trucks. A lot of people say that it locks the torque converter immediately after first gear. It's not necessarily the case. And, you know, I don't want to get into what torque converters do because that's kind of a long description here. But essentially, torque converter efficiently connects your transmission with your engine, and locking torque converters help, again, reduce heat and wear and tear on your transmission when you're shifting gears in particular. And tow-haul mode manages that a little bit better to reduce heat going to your transmission. Another thing that tow-haul mode might do is that if you have a truck that has multi-displacement cylinder system, so particularly MDS on Ram trucks, if you have a gasoline engine, what that does is that on 8-cylinder trucks in normal driving conditions, or when it doesn't need too much power, it doesn't use 2 of the cylinders. So it's only operating as a 6-cylinder truck, which saves fuel. If you put tow-haul mode on, it will turn that MDS system off, so you will always be using all 8 cylinders. And that is important, of course, for power and torque, but it's also helpful, again, with compression when you're going downhill. I can't stress it enough, the best, most important reason for using tow-haul mode is that downhill braking. What is downhill, though, by the way? Downhill and uphill are both affected by tow-haul mode. You get more power going uphill, and you get better braking going downhill. But what is a hill? I'll tell you what, here in the Outer Banks, I am on the flats. This I would consider a very flat road. I will say throughout most of the country, even in states that people consider flat, like Kansas and Nebraska, you're going up and down grades often. You're pretty much always going up and down a grade. It's very few places where you're actually driving on very flat roads for a long period of time. So you will see people say, I don't use tow-haul mode on the flats, I do use it on hills. You're gonna have to judge that on your own. But why wouldn't they use tow-haul mode? What's the downfall of using tow-haul mode? Why wouldn't you press that button every time you're towing a vehicle? It's fuel mileage. You lose a little bit of fuel efficiency when you're in tow-haul mode. Because you're operating at a little bit higher RPMs generally, you're reducing fuel efficiency a little bit. So again, this comes back to, like, what do you consider towing? What do you consider a load? So I actually talked to a Ford engineer about this. And take this with a grain of salt, because they're trying to sell these trucks as, you know, indestructible. What they say is, we've engineered tow-haul mode to improve the quality of the drive, to improve your enjoyment in the drive. And if you don't like tow-haul mode, don't use it. If you like it, use it. You're not going to damage anything by not using it. Again, that goes a little bit against some of the traditional reasons to use tow-haul mode. It is supposed to reduce a bit of heat in your transmission by doing a few different things. But remember, again, these transmissions are learning what you're doing as you're driving. So they kind of know, and they're not going to do anything that allows you to hurt them if you have a modern truck. And when I say modern truck, I mean last 5 years, okay? If you got like a 2016 truck, it might not be that smart. But I do think there is a bit of truth to that, in that if you hook up a light trailer to an F350, you're not doing damage by not using tow-haul mode. But the more weight you have back there, the more important it is to use it. In practice for me, generally what I'm towing is either our 15,000-pound fifth wheel or our 8,000-pound travel trailer, and I'm using tow-haul mode for sure with either of these. If I don't use tow-haul mode with the fifth wheel, I definitely notice it. With the travel trailer, I notice it, but it takes me a little bit longer to notice. I'll definitely notice it when I hit a grade and it's not slowing down immediately for me and I've got to downshift. So I think the few bucks in fuel savings aren't really a big deal it's pretty much worth it to put tow haul mode on whenever you're towing or hauling. And then again, sometimes when you're not towing or hauling, when you're going down a mountain pass and you don't have a trailer attached to you or anything like that, it still can be beneficial to use tow haul mode. But again, if you're going a few miles without using tow haul mode, you're not damaging anything. You're not going to hurt your truck. If you don't like the way it drives using tow haul mode, don't use tow haul mode. There is one other situation where you might not want to use tow haul mode. And in your manual, it may say something like, do not use tow haul mode in slippery conditions. Now, why? Well, you're getting more power to the wheels. And more power to the wheels when a wheel starts to slip causes that wheel to slip more. But what if you're like on a mountain pass and it's slippery? I probably would still use it. I probably wouldn't be on that pass if it was slippery, or I'm probably going very, very slow. But what is considered slippery? Today it's a rainy day outside, the road's wet. Is that slippery? To me, not so much. I mean, you're concerned about things like hydroplaning, but that's not the same as slipping on snow and ice. So I really think that means snow and ice to me. It might not to you, unless it's raining so hard that it's causing me to slow down anyway. I'm probably staying in tow haul mode, but that's just me. I wish there was more information about this in manuals and official factory videos and all that sort of stuff. But when it comes down to it, tow haul mode is there to improve your driving experience, to help your vehicle tow better. And that's why you should use it. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you always use tow haul mode? Do you have a certain set of parameters when you don't use it? Please let me know. As always, if you got something out of this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you want more like it, and we'll see you next time.